Good morning, everyone. Hello. I decided to do a few videos to remind myself of my tips and tricks for getting through this thing I called chemo treatment. Um, I found that even though I've done this several times, I was forgetting some of my own tips. So I figured I'd make some videos and I can watch them. And if you can learn anything from them, again, this is just my experience and, it's not medical advice, but it is what's worked for me. So one of my large symptoms is nausea and vomiting. Um, Not everyone has that, even though the stereotype of chemo patients is that they have lots of nausea and vomiting. A lot of people do not, but I have it. I have breakthrough even with all the medication they give. So they always give me anti-nausea meds at the center when I get treatment, and then I have other stuff going on. But I still that's probably one of my worst symptoms. Not the worst, but it's up at the top five. So I wanted to share what's worked for me. So I have 7 ideas for that. So let me get started. We'll get right into it. And I wrote them down, so today should be a little more organized and less stream of consciousness. Hopefully that helps. So the first kind of somewhat obvious one is anti-anemic or anti-nausea / vomiting medication. So one of the most popular would be Zofran. There are others. There's newer stuff. There's some stuff there's different stuff available by IV when you're at the center versus the pills that you can get at home. Overall, they do make a difference. I can say that I'm not quite as nauseous the day of and sometimes the day after, but as the IV stuff wears off, the oral is not quite as impactful. And then the other thing to kind of mention as a side note, I'm not dissuading you, and definitely take the medication because it does help, is that there are side effects. So one of the side effects is, sorry, we're getting TMI, is constipation or impacts to your GI tract. So in my case, that wasn't horrible because I was having diarrhea was a side effect of one med and constipation is the other. But in past years, in past times, constipation is a concern, and that's something you really need to be on top of. As far as that whole something we kind of take for granted when we're healthy is the functioning GI tract. But if you don't go to the bathroom for a long time, or you go to the bathroom too much, both of those will have pretty severe impacts on your health. Obviously, going to the bathroom too much or diarrhea kind of sucks out all your electrolytes, which we saw I had this issue in December, along with other impacts of chemo. And then prolonged constipation can cause lots of problems, up to and including needing surgery. So it's a big deal. We shouldn't ignore it. So I'm not saying not to take it, but just to be aware. So, for example, if you take the anti-nausea meds, maybe you need to take Colace or a stool softener or a Miralax or something that helps you keep everything moving, right? But again, talk this over with your nurse practitioner or your doctor. It is a concern, but I wouldn't recommend not taking it just because of that side effect. You just have to mitigate. Another one that may not seem so obvious, or you might be surprised when your doctor prescribes it. Many low-dose anti-psychotics have a side effect of controlling nausea. And further, many of them kind of, I don't want to say knock you out, but they make you sleepy. And so if you're sleeping, it's difficult to be nauseous. So if you're truly sleeping, sometimes I wake up nauseous. That's a different discussion. But so I'm not saying go to your doctor and ask for an antipsychotic, but you might get scripted a medication that they say is for nausea. When you look it up, it doesn't really list nausea as the treatment. Like Zofran, the main treatment is for nausea. But there are other medications, Ativan and some newer ones. Ativan's very old. That really, if you look them up, they are antipsychotics, or they're in the psychological mental health field. Your doctor is not inferring that you have a mental health issue. They are using it for your nausea. So I just want to put that out there. Again, any side effects associated with those meds, just be aware of them and mitigate them. Talk that over with your doctor, your nurse practitioner, whomever's working with you. And then I guess the last one that's a medication that you take orally would be heartburn meds. So Prevacid, Prilosec, Pantoprazole. I think that's also called Protonix. There are some that are you can get over the counter, and there are some that you need a doctor's script for. But one issue I don't, you know, that I had, and that's why I'm sharing it with you, is that when I had that heartburn sensation, that would instigate the nausea because there's that burning and the gross taste that comes up into your mouth. And so by taking the heartburn meds, that prevents that taste from coming up, and that prevents the kickoff of the nausea. So those are the three things that that I do. Three pharmacological solutions, and now let me give you 4 non-pharmacological solutions. So one is to not push my body beyond what it can do. So that's really hard, right? You don't want to just be laying around all day, but you also can't push to be the same level of active as you were before you were in treatment, because treatment takes a lot out of your body, right? Remember, not only is the chemo killing the cancer, it's killing any fast-growing cells in your body unless it's targeted treatment. And so your body's fighting cancer, A, and B, it's dealing with the impact of the chemo on what were previously healthy cells that were doing their job. They kind of got attacked. Those healthy cells got attacked through no fault of their own. So it's just not realistic to expect that that your body will be able to do the same thing that it could do before you were in treatment. But you do not want to just be laying around all the time either, because there's a whole set of issues with that. So, but be cognizant. Like for me personally, I found I could move a little bit more at the beginning of the day, but towards the end of the day, I really didn't have anything extra to give. Move very slow. Maybe it just means you can keep moving, but you have to move slower. Maybe it means you have to sit down after 5 or 10 minutes of exertion, and then once you're resting, you get back up and you do it again. I use my Fitbit quite a bit and watch my heart rate. When it started to elevate, I sat down for a while and came back down, because even though you're not exercising, my heart was working like I was doing a full-on cardio workout. So that's something to consider. Another one that's fairly common, I think most people know, but I'm going to mention it, is what I would call regular small noshing or snacking. You hear the stereotype of the pregnant woman that has crackers by her bed. I had like a whole little go bag. I guess I should have brought that over. A whole little go bag of snacks, I'll call them, or things that would comfort me. So some of them was hard candies. Animal crackers this time were better than other crackers. Can't explain why. Pistachio nuts. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in there. And I just had this bag, and I would keep it next to my bed, and I would keep it next to me in the living room when I moved. And if I went out, I would put it in my bag and bring it with me. It was in the car. So I just always had it. And I actually had an emergency plastic bag in there in case there was any vomit happening. Let's see. I'm sorry. All right, so I kind of touched on this. Another thing, I'm going on to number 5 here. Another one is hard candies. So anything for me with a strong taste that didn't nauseate me. So for me this time, and it changes, was root beer barrels. So they have a very strong root beer taste, and they overwhelmed the bad metallic taste in my mouth, and kind of calmed down the nausea. And then I also found, let's see, I think that was all of them. I guess that was number 6, not number 5. So number 7 is kind of a group. And this group is mint for me. That might not work for you. But for me, mint made a massive difference. And in lots of different formats. So mint tea. I could drink mint tea and it gave me some comfort. It didn't necessarily take away the nausea, but it was something I could drink without getting nauseous. So I would drink it hot. I would drink it warm. Well, I didn't drink it hot because my mouth wouldn't support it with the sores. But I drank it warm. I drank it cool. I would dilute it with ice water and drink it as cold. It would just put that flavor in the water. I chewed mint chewing gum that helped me tremendously. I used mint chewing gum for acid reflux as opposed to medication sometimes. So I would chew that if I had that feeling of that. It also took the bad taste out of my mouth. And as a side note, chewing gum can help move your GI tract. So if you're having a trouble with any of your GI stuff, that was also helpful. Mints, just like altoids, that made a massive difference for me. I can't explain. And the final one, which doesn't seem to be linked, but it's in the mint window, is a soft toothbrush, a mint toothpaste, and mint flavored biotene, which is for dry mouth. Because of those fast growing cells, all the mucous membranes inside your mouth, and your mouth is incredibly dry. And that biotene mouthwash makes a difference and will help your teeth. Because when your mouth is dry, stuff sticks to your teeth and you're more likely to get, cavities and have teeth issues. So regularly brushing with a soft toothbrush, because your gums are going to bleed. So very soft, softer than you usually use, the softest you can get, extra soft if it's available. A mint-based toothpaste. I try to use fluoride, but that's up to you guys. And then the biotene mouthwash. And 3 or 5 times a day. As many times a day as I was feeling gross or there felt like a film on my teeth. Anything to keep that bad taste out of my mouth, that's what I was on. So those are Jen's tips for fighting nausea. Some of them pharmacological and some of them just through lifestyle and some things that you eat. But hopefully that helps. It definitely helps me. I think this last chemo treatment, all 6 treatments, I had one time that I vomited. I felt nauseous a lot, but I was able to, for the most part, keep that controlled. Now, I can say this. When my doctor prescribed Zofran, which was the only medication he gave me initially, it wasn't enough. And so I went back and I'm like, I'm still feeling really nauseous. I can't eat. It's making, I gave him all the details and they added another one. I think it was one of the anti-psychotics. And I said, hey, can I also get a heartburn med? Because a couple times I was sleeping and I woke up and I was like choking on acid, which then instigated the nausea, right? So all those things together, I just want to, I guess, reinforce that it is a communication and a partnership with your doctors. They're going to give you what's worked for most people. And as I mentioned already, most people don't get so nauseous. And maybe just the Zofran and some of the non-pharmacological tips that I shared will get you through and you don't need anything else. But if you're one of the unlucky like me that has really bad nausea, then I encourage you to work with your doctors, communicate with them, and get the coverage that you need. And this is me, right? When I was pregnant, both pregnancies were I had lots of nausea. I lost, I think, 13 pounds in my first trimester with one of them. So the nausea is real for me. And it's just, I guess it's just the way my body's made. And I hope that that's not the case for you. But if it is, I hope this helps. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Tomorrow's going to be better. Be well.